Like the rest of the Philippines, Zamboanga City only get to have two seasons. These are the wet and the dry season. Rainy season, or how we want to say Tiempo de Ulan, usually starts late May to October. The remaining months will have dry season or Tiempo de Seco. However, it won't be totally dry as there will still be occasional rains. When talking about weather, it could either be or may be a combination of the following: maoskurana, which means cloudy; maviento, which means windy; maulan, which means rainy; and masol, which means sunny. Let's start by learning how to ask for weather. We can simply say, ¿Qué tal el tiempo? ¿Qué tal el tiempo? Then of course, if the question is directed to us, we can simply answer, Bueno el tiempo, that is when the weather is good, or Malo el tiempo, when the weather is bad. Those were more general way of answering how the weather looks like. A good weather is not always good, at least to certain people. Weather can be good or bad depending on the situation. Example, a hot sunny weather is always a good time to do the laundry. Well, why not? But for someone who doesn't like to get tanned, they will think about it otherwise. The following are more specific vocabulary about the weather. As I've mentioned, Zamboanga City could either be wet or dry. Let us talk about the wet season, or what we called Tiempo de Ulan. For some nouns, we have taliti, which means drizzle. Of course, we have ulan, which is rain. Aguacero, this is rain but more stronger. It is also called a heavy downpour. Kirlat or kidlat, this is lightning. Then trueno or thunder. Now, verbs you might use to describe this season. We have tantaliti, which means it's drizzling. Tanulan, which means it is raining. Tantrueno, which means it began to thunder. Tatembla, which means shaking, probably because you are wet and cold. Example, tatemblayo. Winds tend to blow on some occasions, so we can say tapegaviento or tasuplaviento. If you want to talk something that happened yesterday, you can say yan taliti ayer. Yan ulan ayer tarde. Yan trueno anoche. If you want to talk tomorrow or the future, you will say ay man taliti mañana or man taliti mañana. Ay man ulan mañana or man ulan mañana. Finally, let's talk about adjectives pertaining to rainy season. It could be oscuro or gloomy. You can say oscuro el cielo. Frío, this is cold or chilly. Frío el viento. Of course, fuerte, which means strong or hard. Tasopla fuerte viento. Mojao, which means wet. Mojao di mio camisa. Malodo, this is where the earth becomes muddy. Malodo el camino. Now, let's talk about the dry season. For some nouns, of course, we have sol, or the sun. When the sun shines so hot, then you get sudor, or what we called sweat. Calor, which means heat. Then we have tosta, which means scorch. While quema, which means burn. Verbs that you may use. We have suda or sweat. Ya sudayo enantes. Quema or burn. Ya quema el pellejo na sol. Tosta or scorch. Tatosta el calor del sol. Now, let's talk about adjectives. We have fresco or cool. This is something you describe when you transition from a very hot state to something cooler. Let's say getting inside an air-conditioned room from the heat outside the house. You can say, fresco adentro casa. Caliente, which could either be warm or hot. Caliente el sol is a state where the sun is burning our skin, and usually we emphasize it by putting God like caliente God el sol. Bien caliente God el sol, we use an adverb to emphasize the heat to the next level. Alto el sol means the sun is high, which is akin to saying arde God el sol. Seco, which means dry. This adjective is used to describe anything that is dry. Example, seco el zacate na hardin. We also have idioms related to the dry season. Tasuda plomo, which means you're sweating so much. Here are terms related to temperature or temperatura. For some adjectives, we have fresco or cool, frío, this is cold, caliente could either mean warm or hot, so we use the same adjective to mean both. Bien caliente, this means it's very hot. Nouns, we have frialdad, which means coldness, el frialdad del noche. Calor or heat, el calor del tiempo amo el talyevaco nel mga pajaro. If you learned something new today, let me know down at the comments. To learn more of this great language, check out these videos on the left. Consider subscribing and keep going back to Vamos Media for more videos.